Good evening, short story writers. This will be rather fast, getting faster and faster and faster. Yesterday was the 9th of October, and would have been John Lennon's 80th birthday. So there are two potential ideas here. One is that fact, and the other is a fascination that John Lennon had with the number 9. Now, 9 is numbers can be strange. 1 is a strange number because you multiply it by itself, it's 1. Divide it by itself, it's 1. 9 has properties insofar as if you multiply something by 9, generally, if you reduce the digits down, like 9 12s are 108. So 1 and 0 and 8 make 9. 9 9s are 81. 1 and 8 makes 9. And this just happens the whole time. Nikola Tesla had a fascination with 9. There's something about it. There's a YouTube video about it. It's just not an irreducible number because 3 3s are 9. But 9 has its own strange little properties, and John Lennon was fascinated with it. And as someone pointed out, he was shot on the 10th of, was it the 8th? Maybe it was the 8th of, yeah, it was the 8th of December in New York, but it was the 9th here in England. The number 9 he was fascinated with it because it recurred in his life an awful lot. And that's why he had on the White Album a song, it's called Revolution Number 9, and he just continues as number 9, number 9, number 9. So, the idea for a short story would be around a number that it has special significance to your main character, and I don't know, maybe helps them win the lottery. Maybe it's something that they use when in doubt. You know, when some people say, "When in doubt, go left," or "When in doubt, go right." Well, when there's a choice, always pick the nth. So, say their favorite number was 4, then they would always pick the 4th exit. And if there were 3, it would go 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So the other thing would be the fact that John Lennon obviously was a person of international renown and helped to change the course of music. And so your short story could take the form of the Dr. Watson type of story, a person reporting the progress of somebody very, very famous, a fictional person, perhaps, or maybe non-fiction. It could be creative non-fiction, this, if you want to write something literary, or you could write how knowing that person affected you. There was a play called John, Paul, George, Ringo and Bert. John, Paul, George, Ringo and, I think it was Bert, I'm not sure. I should have done my research before I started this. And it was about a guy who in Liverpool in the early days was called in to play drums when Pete Best and then when Ringo couldn't make it for whatever reason, and how he had a fixation with the Beatles over the coming years. It was really a way for, again, I should know who wrote it because he wrote Shirley Valentine, but it was a way of him giving a Beatles biography back in the 80s. The Beatles, strangely enough, became very unpopular between the years around 1973 and then 1980 when Lennon was shot. They had about 8-9 years where there were people who'd never heard of them. Honestly, very odd. So, It could take that form. It could take the form of somebody who's determined to make it, and they go off, and it could be like there's a French story called Le Grand Monde. This figure who looms large in your life, and then you second-handedly get to recount your personal view of their life. There's a lot of this. There's a guy called Peter Brown who was kind of a fixer for the Beatles. He wasn't the manager, it was Brian Epstein, but he did things. He helped Lennon, for example, sort out certain legal wrangles so he could get to Amsterdam to get married to Yoko Ono, and that's actually mentioned in one of the songs. He gets a name check. So yeah. He wrote a book called The Love You Make. I've read a lot about the Beatles, my heroes, amongst others, but they're there. And there are a lot of ways of approaching this. From a sci-fi point of view, you could be somebody who is doing a similar thing with the likes of a character like Elon Musk, or you could be just chronicling. Asimov did it with, was it Harry Seldon, who was the founder of some sort of socio-psychology on which the Foundation series was built. So there are many ways of approaching this. Horror could be you're the person who tags along with Van Helsing and knows all his quirks. You could be the bride of Dracula. The person, Igor, or whatever his name is, who helps Frankenstein. There are lots of ways of approaching this, and you can humanize it so it becomes a kind of not just space opera type of story, but somewhere between that and literary fiction. So there's a humanizing element. That's become a big thing in movies these days. We get to know everybody as a human being as well as their superhero persona. All right, so that's it. John Lennon. Happy birthday, John, if you're around, in any form whatsoever, even if it's just a scattered electromagnetic field, because you can't destroy energy, and you can't destroy matter, just becomes energy, and you can't destroy energy. Fundamental rule of the universe, number one. So some of the electrons which were John Lennon